Welcome back. So, seems like our theme this week that it's developed is asking big and bold. And the little story that I told yesterday about the amazing incident in the Charles Dickens novel where the little orphan goes back and outrageously asks for more. What's extraordinary and dynamic and bold about that character, that young orphan who came back in the midst of every reason not to ask for more and did so anyway? Well, it sure seems like he was asking from his greatest sense of need, doesn't it? When you're hungry, it's hard to think about very much else. Uh, Certainly you can, but man, it's like Maslow's hierarchy of need. It's that pyramid of getting our needs met first, and whatever the most important thing is oftentimes the biggest asking inside of ourselves. So I must admit that um, I heard a spiritual speaker the other day, and he was talking about this same principle, and he used a phrase that was just, it really struck home with me. And he used the phrase from trouble to double. It's silly and trite, and yet it really gets the point across. When we ask from our biggest trouble, then we will get double. And it's more than just a trite and meaningless platitude. It means what it says. And I thought I might unpack it for just a moment. But when we, in the midst of whatever our largest difficulty is, when we pray properly in such times, then we set ourselves up for the greatest possible unfoldment. And here's why. And that is, I don't think there's any doubt that the prayers that we pray with our greatest feeling and emotion are the ones that are the most powerful and the most dynamic. There's no doubt about this as far as I can see. When we put the highest of our thought together with the strongest of our emotion, we fuse together the greatest faculties and resources of our being that go straight to the source of creation, straight to God. And those great askings are answered. But here's the deal. It does come with a condition, and that is, it's important that when we pray with great emotion, that we aim those prayers in the right direction. And by what I mean by this is, when we're feeling strong emotion in the midst of big trouble, it's not unusual for us silly humans. And think about this, because I've thought about this a lot. I'd love to know what you guys think. But oftentimes, in the midst of my biggest troubles, my prayers are inadvertently and uh, paradoxically aimed in the wrong direction. If I'm in big trouble, oftentimes my what I'm thinking about is the trouble itself. I'm mired in it. I'm swamped by it. It's all I think about it. And in effect, I'm praying because we're praying all the time. Praying means aiming our consciousness, and especially with strong emotion. So I know that for large stretches of my life, in the midst of great trouble, I was more focused on the trouble, the problem, and I would marshal all my emotions and put my emotions together with really strong thoughts like I'll never get out of this, or it never works out for me, or I'm not worthy of the solution, or blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm done for. Brilliant prayers like that. Isn't that a beautiful prayer? Take all of your emotion and put it into the thought, I'm done for. Anyway, I've been knocked around a bit and buffeted by life in such a way, and been exposed to wonderful teachers and teachings that have taught it's the prayers that we pray with great feeling that are answered. So what I'm getting at is, since this week is about praying as big as you can, as bold, leaving nothing on the table, how big are you willing to ask? The one place you want to look is where your biggest trouble is. What's the biggest problem in your life? maybe it's an immediate thing, or maybe it's a chronic one that's been with your whole life. But right there is the answer. There's the biggest prayer that we can ask, and that is whatever the biggest dilemma is, my financial worry, my relationship difficulty, my depression, my fear, my anxiety, my whatever it is, whatever the biggest problem is, if we take the emotion from that and then turn it into the strongest, most bold, big prayer, and something along the lines of, and again, I'm going to use religious language. It's like, God, I'm swamped in the midst of this, but I know it's not too big for you. So I'm going to put all my emotion, all my feeling in knowing that I will go from trouble to double. I will be expanded and uplifted beyond my wildest imaginings by going through this. And those are the kind of prayers that the whole pantheon of angels and God here, and they go right to work. And it also puts us in a aligned position to receive the answers to those great prayers much more quickly without having to struggle and suffer so long. So there. Tell me what you think. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.